Good evening. Welcome to Techspace. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Phil. It's really great to be hosting this evening in collaboration with Antler. We haven't yet hosted an event together, and I'm really glad that we're doing it tonight on Failure Friday. This is a series we will hopefully do a lot more of. We're hoping this is a success and that you enjoy yourselves. It's obviously about networking, but it's also about sharing failure. I'm actually reading a book at the moment called How to Fail by Elizabeth Day. If you haven't read it, you should probably read it. It's brilliant. She's amazing. In it, she talks about the stresses and strains of everyday life and the fact that we live in a world that's always stressing the importance of perfection, and we hide from humiliation. And obviously, social media highlights the perfection, the perfect world around us. But actually, it's in those chapters of life where we fail and we're humiliated that we learn the most. So that's what tonight's about. It's about sharing failure, making sure we all get comfortable with our failures and learning from it, and shining a light on it. So without further ado, Darren.
So I can guarantee that I'm not going to be as inspirational. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to Techspace. Welcome to Failure Friday. This evening is something that a lot of you, if you've been through Antler cohorts, will be familiar with. It's an event that I've felt very passionately about running through the cohorts. And for context, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about in terms of Antler and cohorts, Antler is an early stage VC. We invest at companies at day zero. Through our cohorts, we bring together really exceptional entrepreneurs to help them find their co-founder and build a business, and then we invest right at the very beginning. So a lot of these instances, it's pre-concept, pre-idea. The people that join us are pre-team. This Failure Friday concept, I wish I could take the full honor of being responsible for, but it is something that I've taken from an old mentor of mine who used to run it as part of Digital Brighton. So if you've ever been to Digital Brighton as a conference, it's for the creative industries. And during that event, they used to run Church of Fail, which became a franchise and kind of went all over the world. And it was a space to talk about the things that we fucked up. It was a space to share, a space to reflect and talk about the lessons that they've learned. And what's so powerful about that is, just like Phil says, we live in a world that obsesses over things that go right. We celebrate our successes. And at Antler, when these cohorts start, a lot of people start talking about every great achievement they've had in their life, but the thing that makes them who they are is the things that they do wrong. It's a much better way of getting to know people. So I'm really thankful for the people that are going to take the stage this evening and share their reflections on the failures that they've been through. So when they are speaking with us, I ask you to really kind of pay attention to what they're going through and what they're talking about, because you will have time to ask them some questions about it. They'll be on stage for about 7-10 minutes to run us through failure. Obviously, in 7 to 10 minutes, that means it will be quite high level. So you'll want to know more information. They'll be on stage for some longer time for that, about another 7 to 10 minutes, just to take some questions. We've got 2 of these microphones, so when it does come to Q&A, please wait for the microphone to come to you. And then we'll break again for networking. So it'll be time for more beer, more pizza, and more wine. It'll also be an opportunity to ask more questions of those people. As Phil says, we also hope that this becomes a series. So that means that you, listening to me right now, will get to take this place and share some failures that you've had in the past. And I think it's really kind of important here that you might be sitting there thinking, Jesus, okay, what would I take to the stage and talk about? There is definitely something that has made you who you are that came from failure. We probably spin it to ourselves as lessons learned rather than failure. We spin it to ourselves as someone else's fault. But if you actually think of it, like most of these things that you've gone through that have made you who you are have come from these failures. So really just trying to make that space where we can, as it says behind me, share those meaningful stories and actually celebrate them. Sweet. I'm going to stop talking because I've not failed anything. So I'm not going to take much more of your time. What I am going to do is invite up Charles. Charles is a founder of Florence. Florence is based down at Techspace in Aldgate East. What we're trying to do with each of these events is bring together one kind of influence person from the Techspace community and one person from the Antler community. So up first, it's going to be Charles to talk us through a failure in terms of building Florence, which, when you look at it at face value, as a company that's raised in excess of £20 million, it's growing, it's got good customers, it's got good traction, you wonder what might have went wrong on that journey. But hopefully, Charles is going to take the stage and talk you through that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've got the clicker. Thank you. Okay, great. So first off, I spent quite a lot of time looking at failure GIFs, so apologies if I'm going to blast you with loads of GIFs. It's good fun. So nice to meet you all. Pleasure to be here. I was actually quite excited about this on a personal level because I absolutely love the topic of failing, and I love like screwing things up. And I reflect on this quite often. Like, why do I love that? Two reasons. Firstly, I see this whole company building thing as a game, and that's a really nice way to look at it, I think, personally, because it means you can enjoy the successes as you do when you win something, and you can bathe in the failures in a way that's not so intense as they could be if you take it all too seriously. And I think that outlook of gamifying what you're trying to do here, I think, is a really interesting approach. And I read a book on books we read recently. I've recently read a book by Ray Dalio, Principles. Love Ray Dalio, really, really interesting thinker. And he's obsessed with talking. He talks a lot about failures and learning. He has a quote that he says in his company, which is, failure, like we encourage, I don't know the exact quote, it's like we encourage failure is acceptable, not learning for it is unacceptable. And I think that's very interesting. And after reading that book, I've been keeping in my phone, in my notes, a list of all the times I've screwed things up, which is really fun for me to just go and flick back through, and I can remind myself of all the things I've learned along the way. So really, really impactful thing I've done personally. It's quite interesting. So my name, I'm Charles. I'm the CEO of a company called Florence. I've got a co-founder called Dan. We're Techspace tenants, which we're very grateful for. Previously I was a doctor, and it's another reason why I like failure, is because so I used to be a surgeon, and that was great, and I was really into it. But failure is really unacceptable in healthcare, and that, for whatever reason, the stakes are high, cool, it's unacceptable, but it breeds a really, really challenging culture to work in. And now working in the tech industry, I've realized how unsuited to my own personal drivers that environment of not being able to fail is. And having been kind of like set free from that, and now working in the industry I work in, I've really come to accept and enjoy the ability to fail and learn from those mistakes, where the stakes aren't actually really, if you think about it, that high. I like a few things. I like gardening. So what is Florence? We build the technology to power the healthcare workforce, and what that means in practice is we do a few things. I'm going to talk about one of the things that we've kind of keep screwing up and failing at. The most of our business is a temporary staffing platform for healthcare. So if you're a nursing home or a hospital and you need a nurse, you go into Florence and you go, I need a nurse with these skills, I'll pay them X amount per hour, and it connects you to workers, and then a nurse turns up. It's something like an Upwork or an Uber for nursing, to put it simply. And we've been doing that for about 5 years. It's been ups and downs on the way. It's been super enjoyable, learnt loads, best thing I've ever done in my life by a long way. Met some amazing people. And we're in a good place at the moment. We did our Series B round earlier this year. So we've raised about $50 million in total. We're now expanding across Europe. So we just launched in France a couple of weeks ago, about to go to Germany, also going to Canada and Australia. So it's a really, really exciting time. Absolutely loving it. And it's been a great journey. And I've been to some of you guys before this. It was interesting to hear the enthusiasm with which you're talking about what you're doing, and it made me very excited for you all. So that's great. So what have I failed at? We have a problem. Every new product we've ever built has been a failure. So I'll tell you a story. Let me tell you a story, GIF. What's the next slide? Every new product we built has been a failure. I'll tell you a story. So I used to be a doctor and saw, I guess, firsthand some of the challenges around the healthcare workforce. So I would work in A&E or in my surgical department, and every day we'd be understaffed, and every day there'd be a reliance on temporary agency staff coming in, and sometimes I would actually myself, to get extra pocket money, pick up agency shifts, so temporary shifts in other hospitals at the weekends or in the holidays, and I kind of thought that was a bit weird, that we're in this hospital that's understaffed and we're bringing all these temporary agency workers in. It's costing the hospital a lot of money. It's not a very good user experience for the worker. I could experience that myself because I would do these shifts. And so that was kind of the kernel of the idea with my co-founder Dan that made us build Florence. We're like, well, there's this big reliance on temporary staff in healthcare, and it's currently managed by these fragmented staffing agencies that are super expensive and very poor user experience. And so I really understood that problem, and I'm quite confident in saying that I really understood it. I was like a customer that kind of ground my head against it. But I still made a massive effort in those early days, maybe not intentionally, just how it all happened, to continue to really understand my customers. And so, our first product we absolutely destroyed. It was an absolute disaster. Ended up spending all of our seed money on a product that we threw in the bin, and ended up going back to a Google Sheet. Was actually our kind of like MVP. So we spent £30,000 building a product, and it just didn't work. So we went back to Google Sheet. But in that process, I spent a huge amount of time with our first customer sitting in a nursing home next to the manager and fully understanding what their problem was. And I would also do things like drive nurses to and from the shifts, because it was an opportunity for me to spend 30, 40 minutes speaking to them and trying to understand what their drivers were. Why is this problem? How do you do this? Tell me more about that. And so in that process for that first sort of 6 months, I really, really got under the skin of our customers. Hello? Yeah. It gave me quite a lot of confidence in feeling that I could solve their problems. So this is back in 2017, and then we fast forward about 3 or 4 years. Business was going well, it was growing, and at that point we were 100 people or whatever, and we kind of sat down and thought, well, this is going well, this business works, we're starting to make some money, what can we do to further serve our customers? And at that point, all we did was temporary staffing for healthcare. So we thought, well, actually, let's think about our hospitals and our nursing homes. Rather than just helping them manage their temporary workforce, how can we help them manage their permanent workforce as well? How can we give them the whole ecosystem that they can manage their onboarding, rostering, scheduling, training and development, time and attendance, payroll, all within one ecosystem? We thought, great, that's going to be awesome. It's going to solve our customers' problems. It's going to be really, really sticky. It's going to give us some subscription revenue. It's going to give us loads of data and insights. It's going to get us really stuck into an organization's infrastructure and take us to the next level. We're like, God, on paper, this is strategically such a good idea. And we kind of spoke to some customers, and we were like, do you think this is a good idea? Should we do this? And they were like, absolutely, this is a great idea. We would love this. We would love to use this product. Please build this for us. And so what we did, and this is about a year ago, we were like, we built a whole function around this. So we spun up a team of about 6 engineers, 2 product managers, a couple of designers, 3 salespeople, 2 marketing people, a data person, finance person, really like a full stack team of about 20 people around this idea. And we didn't sell a single thing. And we've been flogging this idea, or we had been flogging this idea for about a year, and spent probably a total of about £2 million trying to get this idea over the line. And we've generated £2 million of investment, probably hired 20 people to do this, a whole year of work. We've probably generated about £5,000 of monthly recurring revenue from it, so nothing. And so a couple of months ago, we bit the bullet. We kind of had, taking a long time for us to psychologically get to the point where we're like, what's going on here? Should we let this die? Did it a couple of months ago. We're like, we've done this for a year now. We've put all this money in. Let's kill it. Reflected on what happened and what went wrong, and these are my learnings. How are we for time? Are we okay? We're okay. Okay. So yeah, that was my failure. We built this massive product, it didn't work, spent a lot of money, and we failed. But I've learned some things from the process. And actually, I keep learning this first point. Every single time we build something, it's start with the problem, not the solution. And it's so easy to come in and go, we've got a... Keep coming back to this. It's very easy to say, we've got this really exciting, shiny new thing that's going to revolutionize how something happens. But if you can't pick up the phone to a customer and say, what is your biggest problem at the moment? What can I solve for you? And if they can't tell you back the problem that you're trying to solve, or you can't find someone that can tell you that is their problem, it's going to be really hard to build a business around that. And we keep making that mistake, and I keep reminding myself that you need to start with the problem and not the solution. The second thing I've learned is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that whole thing about us building that big team and spending a load of money on it, we didn't do it all at once. We started with a couple of engineers and it didn't really work. And then we started with a product manager and it didn't really work. And then we started with a salesperson, it didn't really work. And then a market person, it didn't really work. And again, my learning and my takeaway from this is that kind of the third point as well is throughout that whole process of is this product going to be successful? We kept on saying to ourselves, well, maybe if we just do this, maybe if we just improve our messaging, maybe this salesperson is bad, we just need to add another salesperson to see if they can do it. Maybe we just need to go after another customer type. We kept on making mistakes and it kept on not working. And so it took us a whole year of, and this maybe goes against some of the kind of like orthodoxy in building companies, but we tried to move too fast with too smaller team at the beginning, didn't knock out the unknowns on the way. So for the whole period, we kept on searching for the thing that wasn't going right and the thing that was going to change the game for us. And if what we'd done at the beginning was, rather than starting with single people that we built up a team like that and not interrogated every action, not closed off lots of questions as we were going through, we had started at the beginning and gone, right, what is the immediate full stack functional team we can put in here, and what are the waypoints we need to be hitting to understand whether this is going to be successful? We would have saved ourselves a huge amount of pain, a huge amount of money, and a huge amount of mental headspace. I've got a lot more learnings probably about that incident, but I think I'm probably may over time. So any questions? Thank you.
So we'll have time for 2 or 3 questions.
Cool.
So if you want to throw your hands up, and then I'll pick my favorites. Cool, got 2. So.
Hi. I'm quite loud anyway, normally. You mentioned there about knowing when to kill something. How do you get to that point psychologically when it's something that is yours and you're, kind of invested in on multiple levels?
I think it's like such a good question and probably the hardest thing, and I don't have an answer. So, on paper, what you do, I think, is you say, okay, if we get to X by Y and we've demonstrated these points, then we deploy more capital. We build a team, we go further. The reality is that the discipline to do that is like, I haven't managed it. We've definitely as an organization not managed it. It's always like, oh, well, we said we would kill it if we hadn't got to this point by then, but we also have learned a lot and we haven't closed off those unknowns. So let's just give it another roll of the dice. And we haven't managed it. What I practically do now is I hold myself accountable by telling someone what the plan is that I don't want to roll back on. So I have quite a lot of like duty and honor, especially when it comes to like our board or investors. So I will say to them, this is the plan, hold me to this. If I come back to you in 6 months' time and I try and tell you something different to this, really like nail me to the floor and like interrogate why I've changed my mind from what I said 6 months ago. So it's really hard to do. Sometimes you can improve discipline by getting other people to hold you accountable.
You said you've spent a couple £1 million, monthly run rate of 5,000. How have you managed your relationships with your investors during this time, and are they going to be giving you more money?
Yeah, no, so that was just on that specific product. So the rest of the business, was doing actually, luckily, during that period, extremely well. So it was always like psychologically kind of a skunkworks project. It was always a side project. So that was fine. And in fact, actually, that probably contributed to it a lot to the failure as well, because whilst we were trying to build this new product, this new thing, at the same time, the core business, our temp staffing business in healthcare, was going gangbusters. So that was coming with loads of scaling challenges, but also like loads of excitement. So, 90% of my headspace was focused on building this exciting new scaling business. The reality is actually, if you're trying to build a new product, get it off the ground, you need to be focused on that. And I think, without wishing to dumb down, I guess, like some of the team that have been working on this, don't underestimate the impact that you as a founder have on putting 100% of your mental energy into the problem that needs to be solved. Because if you don't do that, it can be quite hard for the organization to rally around it. So that was definitely another learning for me. It's like one of the other reasons this failed is because we were like, oh, let's do this new thing. And then we kind of like handed it off to this team. And I kind of took my eye off the ball a little bit, was focused on this big growing thing on the other side. That didn't answer your question, but investors are fine. They'll give us more money.
Thanks for the talk. Question on, you just talked about your main business, which 90% of your attention was around, was growing like gangbusters. So what was the pressure, or either personal or external pressure, that made you say, we also need to set up a skunkworks project to like spin up a whole new line of business at this time, even though you could just throw everything into that main business as it's really expanding?
And actually, reflecting on that, like the fundamental underlying driver of that is personal. And me and my co-founder Dan, can be a bit shiny new thing, easy to get bored. So we like doing new things. It's like something we have to really like hold ourselves back from often. And so like core driver was personal. We were like, oh, this is exciting. This is new. This will help serve our customers. We excused it by putting all this like strategic layering on top. Oh, we'll make it more sticky. It will help with retention. It will, increase our share of wallet across all our customer base. All these like strategic things. But really the underlying thing was we wanted to try something new. And I think that's fine. I think that's allowed.
Okay. Thank you, Charles.
All right, thanks for having me.
So that's our first Failure Friday and our first presentation. So thank you, Charles. The next presentation that we're going to have, quickly, it'll be from Lara, who is founder of Twirl, co-founder of Twirl, sorry, Jamie, and part of the Antler UK portfolio. So Lara built her company with Jamie very recently. They're currently going through fundraising, a very different end of the spectrum, I think, from Florence, if that's fair to say. And the story that you're going to hear is one that I've heard before. It's one that was run during the cohort, and it was just such a kind of impactful story that I wouldn't that's too many negatives. I wouldn't allow this event to happen without getting Lara on the hook for it. So we'll see how it goes this evening. If you can give me a huge round of applause to welcome Lara on stage.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Lara. I'm a co-founder of Twirl. We've been recently backed by Antler earlier this year, and we created a platform that helps businesses to produce authentic video content. So if you ever need video content, you can hit me up afterwards, or Jamie over there. But my failure that I'm going to talk about is not about Twirl, luckily, but about a business that I founded before I started Twirl called Swedish Fall. And Swedish Fall was an e-commerce fashion brand that I co-founded back in 2016, actually, with three other co-founders out of university. When we started, we had no idea what we were doing. We were new to entrepreneurship. We had no idea how fundraising works, how to acquire customers, how to create a product, no idea. But somehow we made it work. We managed to get over 100,000 followers on Instagram. We got customers that really liked our product. We even made it to the German version of Shark Tank. I think Dragon's Den it's called in the UK. So things went pretty well over the years, and in late 2021, we actually introduced a very unique model, which was similar to Stitch Fix. So it was kind of try before you buy approach. So people could pick from the website what they're gonna want to have ordered and try it on at home, and then only set what they want to keep afterwards. And we had a twist to it. So for every item that customers kept, they could send back an old piece of clothes to recycle it with us, and they could earn rewards for the next purchase. And people loved it. So we ramped up our Facebook ads. Things went pretty well. Our customer acquisition costs were extremely cheap. They were around €7, and compared to industry standards, that was insanely cheap. And at some point, we even grow from 20 to 50% month over month. So we thought, okay, great, this is product market fit. Obviously, VCs loved it, so we got a little bit of money to accelerate this growth. So in early 2021, we wanted to prepare our company for this growth. So we bought lots of inventory. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, continue? Okay. So we bought lots of inventory in early 2021 and even had to switch suppliers because our previous suppliers weren't even able to produce that many leggings, bras, or tops, whatever we needed. And we even bought so many leggings. I think we ordered like 1 million worth of leggings in sales value, which was insane. We never placed that high orders in the past, but we were quite confident that we're going to grow in late 2021. We projected a revenue that was 5x what we did in 2020. So we placed the orders. We even decided to move into a new warehouse because our old warehouse was not big enough. So we Googled, spoke to a few partners, got a few offers, and went for the cheapest option as a warehouse. So we spoke to new partners, and we knew that if we go to a new warehouse, we won't be able to send out any packages for a week or two, which was quite risky because in this time we wouldn't make any revenue because, again, customers would only pay after they decided what they want to keep. But we did it anyway because our partners reassured us, yeah, we can make it work. We restock every item within a week or two, and then you can start sending out packages again. So we moved, but that turned out to be our biggest mistake ever because we didn't do any due diligence, and our fulfillment partner just didn't restock our items. There was only half of our inventory in our system, and we called them every morning. What is going on? Where's our inventory? Where are those 50,000 leggings? Where are they? And they said no one delivered them. I'm like, this can't be true. I mean, did they get lost on the way? But they said no one delivered. So we asked our old warehouse, did you deliver them? They're like, yes, we sent it out. And on top of that, they didn't even start sending out the packages, and we had thousands of orders in our system already, but every morning when we refreshed our system, it always said 20 fulfilled orders instead of 200, 300, and we called them again every morning. Why don't you send out our packages? You really need to send out. And they always told us, yeah, we had some issues, but they kept telling us, and we knew if we don't start sending out packages within the next week or two, we're going to be dead in 2 months because we needed the revenue. So our customer service was completely overwhelmed. I remember times where our customer service was working 24/7 just to answer our customers. They were asking for their orders or for returns. They were still not restocked, and that was a pretty tough time. So we decided to fly to Germany. Our team was based in London back then. And it was in the midst of a pandemic, so we even had to get a permission from the local authorities to even go to Germany, to fly to Germany for emergency reasons. And what we found was this absolute chaos. There was nothing working. There was no system in place. And the founders of this warehouse turned out to be our age, and they told us they were running the company for 20 years already. So can't be real. So we figured that there was a total scam. There was no system. They were running around with their phones. Half of our inventory was outside in the rain, soaking wet, and the other inventory was between dog food, jewelry, any other Amazon brands, and we started to fulfill orders, but it took us 20 minutes just to fulfill one single order because we had to find this black leggings in S and the pink leggings in M in this huge warehouse where you couldn't find anything, you couldn't scan anything, there was nothing in place. And we knew if we're gonna start sending out orders, it would take us a month or two to start sending out these orders. So we were so desperate that time that we started to be super transparent with our customers. So we posted on our own Instagram channel, I remember, out to 120,000 people, and an email list, I think it was 100,000 people in our email list. So we sent out a very transparent email saying, SOS, we need help, we have a major trouble here, we are in major trouble, we need support. If there's anyone in Freiburg, that's where the warehouse was based in Germany, if there's anyone living in Freiburg and can help us out, sending out packages in the next days and help us with the inventory, please come by. And I think we had 15, 20 people lined up in a day or two, just customers that were willing to help. They were just coming to our warehouse and did the inventory with us. And I remember we were working in shifts. People were just sleeping in the warehouse, and it was insanely cold. So people were sleeping next to the blankets and next to the dog food, ordering pizza just to get those packages out to our customers. That was a crazy time. But because we were so transparent, I think there was a good part to it because customers were really understanding and were actually really supportive. So our messages got way friendlier because we said, okay, we're in big trouble, maybe you're willing to help. And customers even sent us sweets to the warehouse in their returns. They were sending us notes, tea bags, just to cheer us up because they knew that we are in such big trouble and we needed help. So we made it work. I think it took us 2 months to recover from that. We even rented the space next to our warehouse and built up our own team, our own system, our own warehouse, basically, because we had no other choice. Otherwise, we're not going to survive. And so that was in summer. Our team was happy again. We started to grow. But the next issue was coming already in the next month. So that was the time when Apple announced the iOS 14 update. And we knew it was going to be, our Facebook ads wouldn't perform as well as they did before. But we didn't know that it was that bad. So what happened is overnight, our customer acquisition cost went up from 7 euros to 35 euros, basically overnight. And that was just insane. It was not sustainable anymore. And we tried to find other customer acquisition channels because Facebook ads were our only customer acquisition channel, which was pretty risky, but we didn't know it better. We tried with content marketing, email marketing, we called it internally emergency sales because we had to get rid of all this inventory. But it didn't work. We couldn't find a way. So the reality was our revenue turned out to be like half with what we projected in the second and third quarter of 2021. And on top of that, in the third quarter, all the leggings and bras that we ordered earlier this year arrived. And that was 70,000 items that we just couldn't sell at first. And all the invoices were due. So our suppliers were asking us for money. That was... and we just couldn't pay it because we didn't make the revenue that we projected. So we had to tell our suppliers, sorry, we just can't pay you. And we also had no other customer acquisition channel to make it work and to eventually pay them. We couldn't guarantee that we ever going to pay it back. So we had all these items and all these invoices and we just couldn't pay. And I remember going into a call with our investors that actually never really heard of us being in such a big trouble. And I remember telling them that we have all these invoices that we can't pay and that we basically have to shut down the doors in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And I remember they were quite surprised because we never really mentioned that we were in trouble. And then they were just cheering us up like, hey guys, there's Black Friday coming up. Can you do another sale? Or Lara, you can do another like content marketing. Can you do another post on Instagram? But we've already tried so many things in the last 3 months and nothing worked. We couldn't find, nothing really compensated for the loss that we made. And I remember I started crying in this call because I think the entire team just ran out of ideas and out of energy because we've tried so hard in the last couple of months. And I remember in this call, it was silent for a minute. And that was the moment probably where I realized, okay, things are really, really bad, this company. Eventually, we made it work, so we stretched some invoices, we sold a big chunk of our inventory to a few retailers, but until now, we never really found a channel to make it work again. So I guess the biggest learnings from that is we could have done our due diligence better, I guess. We could have maybe gone to that warehouse just to investigate who are the partners that we actually give our business to, all our inventory, but we never really did. And we were very dependent on outside partners. So the warehouse, for example, is one partner that we were very dependent on. Just because if the warehouse or the fulfillment partner is just not sending out packages, there's no way we can sell any, or no way we can fulfill any orders. And the second partner, I call it partner, is Facebook ads. So I think it was very risky just to rely on Facebook ads for such a long time. And I guess we were also quite ignorant and we were not really trying out any other customer acquisition channels because Facebook was such a great channel and it worked so well for us. Why would we put any money in any other customer acquisition channel? We just didn't. So we just had one customer acquisition channel, one warehouse, and third point is that we probably scaled too quickly. Our business was probably not in a very sustainable position that we could have scaled up, especially with just one customer acquisition channel. So probably we should have just taken more time to build up a stable business and then scale it up with a little bit more capacities and also with a little bit less risk. And the last one is, this is actually the most important, that from now on, I always want to be 100% transparent with my partners, because I think that if we had been honest with our investors right from the start, we could have told them about the warehouse struggle or about the iOS 14 update, or there might be issues in the past. They probably could have supported us in a way, not maybe with actions, but maybe as emotional support, because I think the worst thing about this part was telling the people that trusted you and gave the money that they probably lost all the money. And I think we could have prepared them earlier, or at least be honest about what's going on, because they already gave you the money. I feel like we try to impress in our investor update how well it's going. Everything's going great. And like, oh yes, this tiny issue in the warehouse, but we're going to figure it out eventually. But I guess we could have just being honest about what's going on, and then it wouldn't have been such a surprise in late 2021 that we probably need to shut down the company. Yeah, that was my failure. If you have any questions about the business, let me know.
Yeah, if we can take any questions for Lara. Try and get an eye of whose hands are up. Go.
Sorry, it's not a question. It's just thank you very much for sharing this, because it's I think it has been very insightful for me at least, and I think for other people in the room. And I really would like to thank you for having just the courage to stand up here and sharing this with us. So just thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions for Lara?
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey to starting your next pursuit with Twirl, and what was it like picking yourself back up after this whole process and deciding to kind of take another stab at something?
Yeah, I think, one reason definitely was financial reasons, because we didn't pay ourselves a salary after, I think even in summer when iOS 14, the update came out, and we were like, ooh, could get tricky. We stopped pay ourselves salary, which was okay for a while, but towards the end of the year, at some point you have to make money again, because my co-founder actually was my partner, so we were both in the same boat, and both of us didn't have any salary. So I guess that was one point, and another point is that I guess lots of things just inspired what I want to do next. I definitely wanted to solve something. I never want to do something with a physical product again. That was one learning. and something more scalable. I have huge respect for any D2C founder with a physical product because it's just very, very tough. And I never did anything else before. So out of university, I always worked on my own business. So I think I didn't have any other expertise, to be honest, to then just take the learnings and found the next company.
Which lessons from this experience you have already applied at Twirl?
Physical product, one thing. Then finding sustainable customer acquisition channels. I know that some channels just take longer, and being patient is probably one thing going forward. I guess when Jamie and I built the company, we focused on things that make the most revenue right away. Traction, I think we're both that way, but we also both know that we need to find channels that work even if other channels fall out, and that work maybe in 2 years and not in 2 weeks. That's probably one of the learnings.
Take one more question, and that'll be us.
You mentioned that some of your learnings were that you felt that you had scaled too quickly, and I'm assuming that was around your decision for the inventory that you mentioned as an example. What other decisions contributed to that?
I guess the customer acquisition channel that it worked so well was one thing, and scaling too quickly. Buying inventory was one thing, and I guess team as well. I also know other founders that hire very quickly when things go well because they think that those positions will be needed without having the need. And I think that's what we did too. So we were growing and thinking, okay, we're going to need this position soon, so we hired, but there was no need for it already. So we hired those people and had to let them go after 2 months after we horribly failed because we thought we were going to need them, but we didn't need them. So I guess that was also one thing. I would hire only if there's an urgent need that I really, really need this person, rather than thinking of, okay, I'm going to build a business. Now I need this person, this person, this person, this person, without even knowing, do I really need them? I mean, I'm going to figure it out. If I don't have the capacity to do something, then I know I need this person, and not hiring because you think you need them in a company.
Okay, thank you, Lara. So that's both of our presentations for this afternoon, this evening. Both, I think, Charles and Lara are going to stay with us for a short moment. So I know many of you kept your hands up, had more questions to ask, so you have that opportunity to accost them, ask those questions. What I would also say is, obviously, amongst yourselves, there's a ton of things that we can share and reflect. So please just use this as an evening to actually kind of connect and have a network and share those lessons. I'm going to give you a little bit of an anecdote. We were speaking with a potential partner to sponsor this evening, and when I told them what the point of the evening was, to share failures, to celebrate them, and to network, they said to me, yeah, but what are people going to learn from it? Like, what's the pragmatic thing that they're going to get from this? People aren't going to come to an event without a tangible outcome. It needs to be a workshop or something. And I just said, God, COVID really has screwed us over. We've forgotten how to just socialize. So we're from 5 p.m. We have pizza en route, we have beers, we have wines, we have people with awesome stories. Please just take this evening to have a fun evening speaking with one another. Thank you for being a tentative audience to both presentations. And then the next time we run this event, you'll be up here. So thank you.